Hey, what's up, you guys? I just wanted to come and record a video talking about a couple underrated reads because there are so many of them and they deserve your attention too. First up, we have Empire of Silence by Christopher Ruocchio. It's kind of a hard name. This is basically like if you cross Name of the Wind with Red Rising. It is a very simple way of putting it. It takes place far in the future, but it still feels very relatable in terms of technology because the religious organization in this world is kind of banned technology in a sense. So it feels almost like Dune, where it's fantasy in space rather than like a hard sci-fi book. And the story is about this man named Hadrian Marlowe. He's called a hero by some, a villain by others. He's telling his life story, and he's doing it at the end of his days in exile because he, in order to win a war with an alien race, personally extinguished a sun, killing, I think, 4.5 billion human lives in the process. And so he's reviled, he's loved. We just get to learn about his life. And so the book opens with him at his father's court. He's the patrician in this world of the Palatine class, and he's heir to House Marlowe. And unfortunately, his dad's not really into him, I guess you could say, and decides to sell him to the Chantry, the religious organization. And that's not a future that Hadrian really sees for himself. And so he plans his own kind of escape, and things go awry, and he ends up destitute on this backwater planet he's never heard of. And he has to live on the streets and claw his way up and up by becoming a gladiator, entering court, then kind of exploring the mystery of the Cielcin race. And the book overall is just really amazing. It's super fast paced. The characters are relatable. The book is just really awesome. It's a super fast read. The pace is fantastic. It never really lags at any point. The characters are pretty well done. They're also very relatable, so no one feels kind of ridiculously written. And we got a lot of good banter between some of the characters. It does feel a lot like Red Rising, so I guess you could maybe fault it for being a bit derivative. But at the same time, so many people love Red Rising that if you love that, then you'll love this. And with that said, I just think that you should really pick it. Book 2 came out recently. It's called The Howling Dark, and it was even better than Book 1. It blew my mind. It was so good. Next up, we have a book that could be a bit triggering for some people. It's called The Winter Road by Adrian Selby. He's the author of another book called Snakewood, I believe, and it takes place in the same world. If you didn't like Snakewood, I would definitely recommend picking up The Winter Road because it's a prequel and it actually goes back and explains all of the things that I guess people had problems with in Snakewood. We really get a lot more explanation about the world and how it works. But this story is told in a couple different parts. It's told epistolarily at the end between these two characters writing letters back and forth to each other. But the first two parts are about this woman, and she has this plan to kind of build a road connecting all of the Arctic kind of clan holds together in order to trade. And that's kind of her dream. She and her man had a son that was murdered in the past, and the murderer is a bit of an antagonist in this story. And so the first two parts are told the story of everything that led up to her son's murder, her own kind of death, I guess you could say, her rebirth, and then everything that she does afterwards in order to confront this antagonist and further her dream. I think the writing is really solid in this book. He definitely improved a ton between Snakewood and this book. My only, I guess it's not even really a criticism, but it's a bit of a trigger warning. because in this book, people use fight brews, which are these potions that are concocted out of plants and essentially drugs in order to enhance their fighting skills. So it's almost like if you took a potion and like put in some PCP for invincibility, put in some cocaine for super hearing, some LSD for like vision trails or whatever. And so it could be a bit triggering because these people are constantly drinking these and you get to experience kind of the really these warriors are always consuming these, and we get told a lot about the kind of intense rush and experience of the fight group coming on. And so I can see that being a problem for some people. But I really do think that it's worth it. The book really, really surprised me. I had absolutely no expectations going in, and I thought it was just super well done. So check that out too. And the last book I want to talk about is called Lies of Dissent by Troy Carroll Butcher. This book I just read super recently, and it again just the final book I want to talk about is called Lies of Dissent, and it's by Troy Carroll Butcher. It's a debut, and it again really surprised me with just how good it was. I think I rated it I gave it 5 stars. It's more of like a 4.5, but it was fantastic. So you should check it out. But it was fantastic. How to explain this one though? This takes place in a fantasy world where long ago there were these gods that fell essentially, and the world was kind of shattered due to that. There are still people in this world who have traces of the god's blood, and they are called Dragorans. And the Dragorans are protectors to some, reviled by others.
Boy, you already used that word. Synonyms, my friend.
Whenever someone turns 12, the Dragorans come and they test them to see if they have enough blood to serve in the regiments, and if they do, they're dragged away from their families and brought to the Isle to be trained. Now, this book is about 2 characters, Riam and Nola. Riam is this boy, and he's been living with his father his entire life, and the book opens with this Dragoran coming into their house, testing him, and murdering his father and taking him away. On the way to the Isle, they pick up another girl called Nola. And there, their intent is to meet up with all of the other recruits from this year and to be brought to the Isle in order to begin their training and serve in the regiments. But things go awry when Nola is kidnapped by Ishani warriors. They are this kind of like Celtic Picts, I guess you could say. They're shamanic. They have like very spiritual type powers, and their leaders are called Dreamwalkers, and they have the ability to kind of live various futures. And so Nola, it seems, is kidnapped for a really important reason. And she's taken away from her life, from everyone she knew. She's taken away from the Dragorans who were going to protect her and train her. And she's brought into this tribe in order to serve a purpose. On the other hand, we have Riam, and he is brought along after Nola is captured to meet up with other recruits, but things again don't really go well for him. And the rest of the story details what happens to him on his way to the Isle. And yeah, lots of bad things befall him. And it turns out that Riam is actually really important. He is descended from, I think, 6 or 7 of these 8 lines of kind of bloodlines, I guess. And so he's very powerful. And the Dragorans all have various blades, and on the blades there's a crystal, and that crystal is bound to that Dragoran warrior, and whenever they kill or cut something, energy is sucked from that living thing into the crystal. And these bindings can't be broken unless someone's dead. But Riam somehow is able to wrench away one of the swords from his protector. And this is absolutely unheard of, so when people get wind of this, different regiments or factions within the Dragorans are vying to get control of him or if not to have control of him, to kill him so no one else can have him. Along with that, we see him run into more Ishari warriors. We see him confront some of the other children who have been taken that year. He has to deal with slavers. He has to deal with a whole slew of problems. And I was just overall very, very surprised at just how good the book was. I feel like the plot was really tight. There wasn't really any kind of superfluous detail that was annoying. The only real complaint that I kind of have is it felt like Nola's story was a bit aimless in the beginning, between her capture by the Ishari warriors and when she kind of has her destiny revealed to her. That middle section was a bit lame for her, but on the whole, this was a really good story with fantastic world building. I think the world building was done in a really good way, much akin. I feel like the world building was done in a way that kind of reminds me of the Ember. I feel like the world building in this book was done very subtly, but still done very well. We aren't thrown into this world with no idea what's going on, but at the same time, we're not told everything. So I would recommend this book as well. In terms of ratings, I think Empire of Silence is probably the best, then Wise of Descent, and then The Winter Road. So be sure to check all of them out and let me know what you think if you pick any of them up. Anyway, thanks guys. Bye.